Greetings, and may the road rise with you. I am Sandman Mystery Media, and yes, I have a two-handed blade available because we're going to talk about some sword and sorcery today. Some of the darkest. In fact, the character and the writer we're going to talk about today put the dark in dark fantasy back in the 70s. He was a fan of Robert E. Howard. He was a psychiatrist. He was a nihilist. But most importantly, he was a phenomenal writer of fantasy, sword and sorcery, even though he didn't like that term, horror, and critiques. We're going to talk about probably one of the best writers you haven't really heard of, Karl Edward Wagner. Now, the man is most famous for just writing 5 books about a character called Kane. And yes, even though the name is spelled differently, in the Bible, Kane is spelled C-A-I-N, he spells Kane K-A-N-E. It is the exact same character. He commits murder of his brother. God banishes him. He's basically immortal unless he is killed by the exact same type of violence he started, which means murder, but murder while someone is giving thanks to God. So this anti-hero, the only way he's going to get killed is if he somehow repents, gives thanks to the Lord, prays to God, the God who punished him, and is murdered at that time. So, needless to say, he's been running around hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, at least a couple millennia, because I believe the last stories written about him were in the 80s, 90s, and they were more urban dark fantasy. But let's talk about Karl Edward Wagner before I get into the 3 books that I have. And everybody should know Karl Edward Wagner from the Frazetta covers. If you haven't read his books, you'll probably recognize the covers because they're all by Frank Frazetta. Now, Karl Edward Wagner originally went, to high school, college, and graduate college. Got a PhD in psychology. Was working at a very prestigious sanitarium, as they used to call them, or asylum. And he got disillusioned by the medical field because of the atrocities they were doing to mentally ill people or even people with special needs. Because keep in mind, in the 50s and 60s, they were still putting people that had autism and things like that in sanitariums, insane asylums, basically, with crazy killers and predators and all that. They lumped them all together. Did horrible things, electroshock therapy, sterilization, all that kind of stuff. He couldn't, he just was fed up, hated it. He was good friends with the writer David Drake. If you don't know David Drake, the guy practically invented military sci-fi with his series of books about hammers, slammers. So look up hammers, slammers. I know I've got a couple of issues somewhere. They are awesome. not issues. I mean, a couple of the collected editions somewhere. Read them, find them. David Drake, he's awesome. But anyway, him and David Drake used to hang out. You know, they were friends, and he's like, "Hey, man, I'm doing a good gig writing. Why don't you do it?" He's like, "Well, yeah. You know, I've always been a fan of Robert E. Howard. I love Conan. Maybe I should create my own Conan." And he liked Elric too. So he created Kane. And Kane had a bunch of short stories, 3 novels, and everything encompassed 5 or 6 books total. That was it. Just for Kane. Okay, and I've only got 3 of the books. They're the novels. I don't have any of the short story collections. Those I haven't found them dirt cheap yet. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, Kane books, forget it. They're expensive. Even low grade paperbacks, because the paperbacks were put out by Warner Books. They were all first prints with the Frazetta covers. Even low grade, you're looking at $40-50. High grade, well over $100 for a paperback. Yeah, mass market paperback. Karl Edward Wagner's Kane is like the paperbacks of hell of sword and sorcery, you know, or paperbacks from hell, excuse me. But that isn't all he did. He edited anthology collections of horror and fantasy. Tons of those. He wrote tons of horror. I mean, just look up Karl Edward Wagner in Wikipedia or his books on eBay. And he wrote damn good ones. His horror stuff, as far as I'm concerned, was really good. And mixed in a lot of eeriness, creepiness, nihilism, satirical takes. The fantasy or dark fantasy Kane short stories were really good. He won a lot of awards too for a lot of his short stories, because a lot of them were allegories for drugs, transhumanism, all kinds of stuff. But one of his books, Kane actually meets Elric, and he was actually so well regarded by the Robert E. Howard Foundation, if I remember correctly, that they authorized him to release 3 volumes. It was either through Berkeley or through Zebra, of Robert E. Howard's Conan and Bran McMorn stories, unadulterated, unfiltered, no Lynn Carter or L. Sprague de Camp editing or pastiche crapola, none of that crap. And so they did that 3-volume set. And then he also did 2 more books where he was allowed to write a Conan story by them and also a Bran McMorn. Okay. So, I mean, the guy was a darn good writer. And if the Robert E. Howard Foundation gave him permission to do it, you know he's up there. Now, I'm going to show these novels. Now, just so you know, I waited long and hard just to get these 3. The lower grade ones I paid like $8 a piece for. The higher grade one I paid 10 or 12 for. So even though these books are very valuable, you can find them cheaply if you're patient. If you're not patient and you just want to read the stories and you have an e-reader, you can go to Amazon and get all the Karl Edward Wagner Kane books there very inexpensively and have them on your e-reader. Okay. There were companies that did collected hardbound editions, leather, beautiful artwork inside. Those collected editions are serious money. Like if you have all 5, I seen them going for as much as $3,500, $4,000. Okay, because they were limited edition runs, I think like 5,000 or something, and that was it. But anyway, I'm not showing these in any particular order. We're going to know the covers. This first one you may know because the Frazetta family got paid $4,000 to use this exact cover after it was printed on this book for the Molly Hatchet record. And this is Karl Edward Wagner's Dark Crusade. And yeah, this is some of Frazetta's best work there. There's Kane. He's got a big-ass sword on his side there in the back. He's got a battle axe in his hand. Red hair, red beard. He's kind of Nephilim looking. Okay. And this guy's intelligent, articulate. He knows poetry, music, philosophy. Also, in his tens of centuries walking the earth, he's learned very dark magic. He's also a warlock. So he's a warrior. He's a battler. You know, he's a blood and guts kind of guy. He's a poet and a philosopher and a dark magician. And another thing he is, unlike Conan, this guy's not going to help anybody. To me, he's not even an anti-villain, you know, or an anti-hero. He's not like the Punisher, you know. He's not like Deadpool. This guy's just a cold-blooded killer, and he's out for himself, okay? Give you an idea here. In this book, the mystic swordman battles the prophet of an ancient cult of evil that began before the birth of man. Out of the blackness of an almost forgotten past, the cruel cult of Sataki has come to life again. Ortid Oxedi, a daring outlaw, is its prophet. He draws thousands of converts to his dark crusade, designed to destroy mankind. His bloody cohorts conquer Shapali, but they are defeated when they drive to vanquish the southern kingdoms. Ortid knows he must have a powerful cavalry to launch a new drive, and Kane is the man who can command the conquest. But Kane intends no final victory for the forces of darkness. Kane serves the evil cult for one purpose alone. He intends to rule the earth himself. See, that's the kind of guy Kane is. All right. This is not one of Frazetta's best, but it's still very cool. This has Kane looking his most Nephilim-like. Karl Edward Wagner, Bloodstone. And yeah, this is a rough copy. This was one of the $7, $8 copies. That's fine. It's in. It needs help. But I don't care. I got me the book. Boom. And this is a really cool one. The Mystic Swordman becomes the living link with the awesome power of a vanished super race. In the dark swamp where toadmen croak and cower slumbers a secret relic of the days when creatures from the stars ruled the earth. In a booty captured in a savage raid, Kane discovers a ring, a bloodstone, which is key to the power that lies buried, inactive, but not dead, within the forest. Now Kane, whose bloody sword has slashed and killed for the glory of other rulers, can scheme to rule the earth himself. And it is so funny. He gets a group to help him, and they're like, oh, we're all going to share in the power and glory. No, they're not. He's sending all of them ahead on each part of the journey so they can die with whatever traps are in place. So he gets the bloodstone and all the power and glory. And it's neat how all of his plans always fall awry, you know. No matter how evil he is, no matter how well laid his plans are, they always go awry. And I think that's really cool. And then the last book I have of him is also a reader beater, as you can see. Darkness Weaves. And yeah, it's another Frazetta cover. Beautiful book. Kane, the mystic swordman, commands the fleet of an island empress, a ravaged ruler bent on bitter revenge. Once Ephraim was the beautiful consort of a king. Now she is a hideous creature who lives only for revenge. She has allies to aid her, but only Kane, the mystic swordsman, can rally her forces for battle. Only he can deliver the vengeance she has devised in her knowledge of black magic and in her power to unleash the demons of the deep. Yeah. See, great stuff. Great stuff. Now, Warner, these are actually published by Warner Books. I didn't even know back in the day Warner had this. I used to be able to find these books at thrift stores all throughout Los Angeles and Hollywood for like a quarter, 50 cents, $1 at the most, man. And now they're so incredibly expensive. You can either be patient, wait and try to find them cheap like I did for between $7 and $10, or just get the e-reader books. If you're patient, you will find them. The short story collections, I still haven't, but, God willing, if he wants me to have them to enjoy and read, I will. Someday. All right. And that is Karl Edward Wagner. I hope you enjoyed getting a little history lesson on him and what he's done. And I hope you enjoyed Kane, learning about Kane. All right. I'm going to end the video here because I got to go put this sword back with the rest of our samurai swords. Yeah, this is the only big European two-bladed sword we actually have, Most of our swords are katanas, and they're real. I hope to see you guys on the next video. I hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving, had lots of fun with family and friends, ate lots of turkey, stayed safe, and I will see you guys on the next video. And I hope by then I've finished all the books I've been reading and can do a review for you guys. God bless, and may you be making it an awesome day no matter when you're watching this. Bye for now, people.